What's up guys, Mark Reyes again from the Roland Center in Covina, and today's video is about how to tell time. And in order for us to learn how to tell time, we first have to answer the question, what is time? And time is very complicated, but the way that we look at it is how we're able to figure out what part of the day it actually is. So before we get started, I know a lot of you guys already know how to tell time, and for those people who already know how to tell time, maybe watch the video just to see if there's new stuff that you can learn or stuff that you didn't know prior to this video. But anyways, let's get started. The first thing we're going to go over is seconds. So the way that we look at seconds is basically 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, and so on. So there are 60 seconds within 1 minute. So once you understand seconds, like I just said, there are 60 seconds within 1 minute. And in order to get to an hour, you need to go through 60 minutes. And once you understand hours, you understand that there are 24 hours within one day. And then once you understand days, you'll understand that there are 7 days within 1 week. And this is where things start to get a little bit more complicated. So there are about 4 to 5 weeks within 1 month, or there are about 28 days to 31 days within 1 month, depending on the month that you're in. So for example, there are 31 days within the month of May, but if you look at next month, in the month of June, there are only 30 days within the month of June. So like I said before, it depends on the month that you're in that will determine the amount of days that you'll have in that month. So like I said just a little bit ago, there are 4 to 5 weeks within a month. So that one's a little bit more complicated to kind of go over because the amount of days within a week is questioned. So let's just let that one be. The next thing that we're going to talk about is the amount of months that go into a year. So there are 12 months that go into a year. So that one always stays the same. That one always remains consistent. So you don't have to worry about that one being complicated. So I know I threw a lot of numbers at you guys right now. So as much as you want, please pause the video, rewind the video, restart the whole video if you need to, just so that way you guys can understand the previous thing that I just said. And like I just said, I know I threw a lot of numbers at you guys, so do whatever you need to do so that way you can understand it. For the next part of this video, I want you guys to focus on seconds, minutes, and hours, so that way we can understand and learn how to tell what part of the day it actually is. The first thing that we're going to go over is digital time, or basically the numbers that are written down on like your microwaves, on your stove, or even on your watches if you have that type of watch. This is the digital way of how to tell time. So as you can see on the screen, I have 2 different numbers on there separated by 2 dots in the middle. On the left side, we have the number 9, which represents the hour of the day. On the right side, we have the number 30, which represents the amount of minutes that we are within that hour. So the numbers on the left side will never go past the number 12, because after the number 12, we reset to the number 1. The numbers on the right side will never go past the number 59, because after 59, we reset back to 00. So based on the numbers that we have on the screen, this time, as I could read out right now, is 9:30. So like we talked about earlier, there are 60 seconds within 1 minute. So as you can see on the screen, for the number to change on the right side, we need to go through 60 seconds. So every time someone goes through 60 seconds, the number on the right side will go up by 1, which in this case is adding another minute. So like I said earlier, there are 60 minutes within 1 hour. So as you can see on the screen, in order for the left number to go up by 1, you need to go through 60 minutes. So every time the number on the right side goes all the way up to 59, as soon as you go over another minute, the number on the left side will change by 1 number. So it's very complicated. Rewind this as much as you guys want to, so that way you can understand that part of it. The other type of time that we're going to talk about is analog time, or how we read a clock. So much like the digital time, we're going to use the same time that I used there. which in this case is 9:30. So as you can see on the screen, the clock displays the time as 9:30. So the things that I want you to pay attention on the clock are the small hand, the big hand, and the seconds hand. I don't know why they call it hands. Don't ask me. I didn't make that decision. But in this case, like I said, we're looking at the big hand, the small hand, and the seconds hand. So the big hand represents minutes. The small hand represents hours. And the seconds hand represents seconds. So that's the first one that we're going to go over right now. So the seconds hand represents the seconds that we talked about earlier. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and so on. So the seconds hand will be going around the clock throughout the entire day. Every time the seconds hand goes around the clock one time, it moves the big hand, which is the minute hand. So like I just said, the seconds hand will go around the clock one time. That makes the minute hand move over one time. Every time the minute hand goes around the clock, it moves the hour hand one time. You will never actually see the hour hand move over because that's a pretty big jump, as you can see on the clock. However, throughout the minutes moving around, the hour hand will be slightly moving over to go over to the next number. And also, like the digital time, the minutes will never go over the number 59. And much like the hour time, the number will never go over the number 12. Another important thing to realize is what part of the day it actually is, which is why we use the phrase AM or PM. So AM means anytime from midnight until noontime. PM means anytime from noontime until midnight. So whenever someone's talking about AM, it's usually very early morning, in the morning, or right before lunch. Whenever we're talking about PM, it's usually after lunch, afternoon, dinner time, or nighttime basically. For digital times, they usually have an AM or PM on the microwave, on the stove, or on your watch. But for clocks, they usually don't have an AM or PM sign on it. So it's more on you to look outside and see whether it's nighttime or whether the sun is out. So usually when you look at a clock, and like you can see on the screen right now, if it says 9:30 on the clock and you look outside and it's nighttime, most likely means that it's 9:30 p.m. If you look on the clock and it says 9:30 and you look outside and the sun is out, it most likely means that it's 9:30 a.m. So everything after this point is basically just practicing. So the more you practice, the more you'll be able to understand about time, be able to tell what time it is, and you'll be able to tell other people like 15 minutes from now is 9:45, or you can say an hour ago I was doing this. So if you see it's 9:30, an hour ago was 8:30. Or you could say, I'll be free in about 3 hours. From 9:30, 3 hours from now is 12:30. So the more you practice, the more you'll be able to do stuff like that. And don't worry about being rushed. Take your time. Just make sure that you practice as much as you can so that way you can understand how to tell time. Alright guys, so that's the end of the video. If you have any questions, please ask your counselors, whether it's Kathleen, Juliet, Rocio, Raul, or myself. We're here for you guys. Number one thing is I hope you guys are staying safe out there, and I'll see you guys on the next video.